I was promised that Eugene Bleecker would swing. I got the bait and switch put on me, I guess. I did my presentation as best as I could. So this is what I started off with.
This one, and I want to make it get pulled around. If I go like this, okay, I say, okay, I want to do it fast. I can try to pull it faster, but that makes it drag. If I really want to make this go fast, all I have to do is stop this one. When you watch the best hitters in the world, this stops first, then this goes, and then this stops, and then the barrel can win the race out front.
Okay, that's Eugene himself, basically explaining what he teaches. They call it deceleration, that the barrel never gets launched until a series of deceleration moves happens. In this case, he shifts his weight, puts his foot down, the foot blocks, the hips stop their rotation and pass their energy to the torso. The torso picks up that energy and moves, rotates, and stops and sends that energy up the line to the shoulders and out the bat, etc. So I started off showing this, and then I went to these 4 swings, I guess. These are players of Eugene's who he's teaching how to swing. I showed these videos and basically got him to confirm that these are his players. They're doing what he teaches. Okay? All of them are put the foot down, shift the weight first, and then go through that series of deceleration moves to get the barrel to swing forward. All right? So then I put this video up. This is that same hitter of his versus Kerry Carpenter on the right. Now, that's Kerry Carpenter before me. Okay? And these 2 hitters are basically doing the same thing. There might be some individual differences in how they're standing or how they're holding their bat, or are they rotating, one rotating more than the other, one pushing more than the other. You can argue different details, but both of them are in the foot down, push it forward mode. That's undeniable. Okay? And here's a good illustration of what they're both doing. Foot down, push the barrel forward and downward. Now again, that's Kerry Carpenter on the right, and that's one of his best hitters on the left. Kerry Carpenter's in pro ball, and I think this guy on the left is in pro ball too, but I don't know his name. Kerry Carpenter in pro ball could not hit very well with the swing on the right here. Okay? So then I brought up, then I brought up this swing and told them that that person on the right is Kerry Carpenter. That's the same swing that I had him turned around as a lefty so I could put him side by side with Bleecker's player. And then I showed this video here, and I showed the rearward snapped barrel versus the forward pushed barrel. And I made the point that when Kerry was a forward pushing decelerator on the right, he didn't hit very well. But when he came to me and learned to snap and tilt from behind his rear leg and got the Nike swoosh-like deep barrel, suddenly he led the minor leagues with 30 homers and got called up to the big leagues. About this point, Eugene couldn't stand it anymore, and he starts interrupting me. Now, the format was Eugene went first and put on a little presentation about me. And I sat in the back and I didn't say a word, even though almost the entire presentation was made up falsehood. No truth to it at all. A couple things stand out. He starts talking about Aaron Judge's injuries and starts trying to tie me to those injuries. He says something like, I forget how he said it, but he didn't want to come right out and accuse me of causing the injury, but he said this is something you have to consider when you do what I teach. Well, the first injury that he put on his chart, we had a big screen TV there where everybody could see. The first injury he put up was an oblique injury of 2016. I don't know if it's true, but I'll assume it's true. I didn't work with Aaron until November of 2016. So his oblique injury that happened during the season 2016 is in no way associated with me. Another injury he puts up is Aaron gets his hand broken when he's hit by a pitch. Another injury he puts up is Aaron's rib. I don't know if it was fractured, or I guess it was dislocated or fractured. That happened when he dove for a ball in the outfield. Another injury he put up is when Aaron pulled his oblique swinging a bat in 2019, I believe. So that injury on his front oblique is clear indication that he wasn't doing what I teach him on that swing, because the front oblique isn't involved in any such way that you would pull your oblique. So he goes on to talk about my past internet study, I guess, way back when I was 1998, 99, 2000, when I was starting off trying to help my boys learn how to swing. I went to all the different websites. I bought everything I could buy in terms of equipment and videos, the Dave Hudgens videos, the Mike Epstein videos. I bought a swing away. I bought a personal pitcher wiffle ball machine. I spent time on all the different forums, SetPro, Batspeed.com, eTeams, Pro Boards, everywhere. And he tried to associate me with SetPro.com and say that basically I teach them with a twist, which is completely funny because there's nothing I teach that they teach. He doesn't even know what they teach. But anyway, it was his presentation, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe, 20, 30 minutes, was almost total falsehoods about me. But I sat in the back and I respected his time. It's his time right now. He's on stage right now. I'll just stay back here and shut up because I get my time. I get my chance in a minute. So I start my presentation and go through what I just showed you, and suddenly he starts interrupting me. Over and over and over. Not only him, but it appears to me he had some kind of a posse, a group of people in the audience that were instructed to interrupt me. And it got to it became a shit show, I guess, when one of his guys rushed the stage with his phone on camera and says, here's a 120 speed video of such and such, and it clearly shows his foot's down, or what, I don't even remember what he was saying. But it was a little interesting that the guy would rush the stage and interrupt my presentation. Eugene walked up at least twice to interrupt my presentation. And basically the entire event was the most unprofessional thing I've ever been a part of. I don't mind mixing it up and talking and debating. Afterwards, when we stood around the cage, there was a lot of people asking a lot of questions to me and Carrie, and we would answer, do our best to answer the questions. Carrie took some swings in the cage, and the general theme of the night from Eugene Bleecker and his posse's standpoint was to deny that our players match video. So I already showed you this one of Carrie's swing change. And then I started, this was another one of Carrie on the right here prior to his change next to Bonds. And then I showed Carrie next to Bonds and I said, we have a match. We have a barrel path match. We have rear-legged launch. And they all suddenly said, that's no match. Okay? That's no match. Obviously, it is a match. Obviously, they knew that I would rely on video matching, and obviously they knew that their hitter does not match video, and so their only debatable point was to deny that the video matches. So at this point, Eugene comes up on stage and starts denying the video match. And I show him this swing of Aaron next to Pools, and I say, look at the bat path. The bat paths are matched. Yes, they stand different. Albert's a no-strider. Aaron strides. They have a little different handset. But from launch to contact, they're doing the same thing, and they deny it. And then I show this one, Barry Bonds next to Aaron Judge. They deny the match. And then I get to this one, because I know Trout is one of their guys that they think does what they teach. And when I started showing this video, they really got aggressive. And they said, basically this frame right here, they said, well, look, Judge's foot is off the ground, and I guess it isn't quite that frame. Let me find the one. It would be that one right there. They said Judge's foot, well, now Judge's foot might be on the ground. But anyway, I said both of them, their weight is back. And they said, look at Trout, his foot's down. I said, yeah, his foot's down, but his weight's back. And every single one of them would deny that Mike Trout's weight is back. The significance of that is, clearly, he swings from a weight back position. He clearly swings from his rear leg. And then the weight shifts to the front leg. The launch causes the shift of the weight. But as you saw up here, Eugene teaches the exact opposite. You have to have the foot down.
Stops first, then this stops first, then this goes, and then this stops, and then the barrel can win the race out front.
So they knew that, I believe they actually know that they're wrong, but he's so invested in what he teaches, and some of his kids are doing well with what he teaches, okay, that he absolutely will not acknowledge truth. What else? Went on for quite a while. By the way, I mentioned his kids have some success doing what he teaches. Well, then I started talking about limbo. I explained to them what limbo was. That in order to swing the bat, you have to be grounded very well. And when you're on your back leg and stay on your back leg and launch from your back leg, you are well grounded the entire time. You're grounded as you're waiting for the pitch, you're grounded as you swing. But clearly with their teaching, when they have to shift their weight to their front foot so they can block, so they can decelerate the segments, they have to have their front foot on the ground and waited for that to happen. And this basically is the big difference between what we teach. I teach swinging from the back leg, and they teach that series of deceleration moves from the front leg. And so I explained the importance of that. I said, when you're on your back leg the entire time while you're waiting for the ball and when you swing, you're grounded the entire time. You can swing anytime you need to swing because you're grounded. But when you have to shift your weight to your front leg first and then start the series of deceleration moves, you're leaving the rear leg to get to the front leg. And that period of time between, it's not very long, but it's very significant, the time you let your weight shift from your back leg to your front leg, there's a short period of time in there where you're not really grounded on either leg very well. And if the ball gets on you at that point, you can't swing. You can't swing until you get grounded. You can't swing until the weight sufficiently gets to the front leg. So what are you going to do when you're in limbo, that point, that period of time between legs? What are you going to do when you're in limbo and the ball gets on you? You can't swing, you're going to get beat. And when I started discussing limbo, the audience got quiet. They didn't say anything. They didn't agree. They couldn't afford to do that. But something was resonating with some of the people out there. And folks, that is an important ingredient of launch quickness, is that you don't shift your weight first before you swing. if you have to shift your weight first before you swing, you have two moves. You have to shift, then swing. If you can swing from your back leg, you just swing because you're always on your back leg. So anyway, I went on to show him a little bit of this, Aaron's workout, and how he snaps his hands. To start off his workout, he just gets the hand snap feeling, to which they denied that he does that. So here in the video, Aaron will talk about it. I'm not going to bore you with it. You've probably already seen it because I've shown it before. But Aaron will start talking about, I want to feel my hand snap instantly. I want to feel that before I do anything else. And then we went to this video toward the end when Aaron starts lifting his leg and starts talking about what he does and how he swings from his back leg. Now, here's the arrogance of these guys. Not only is Eugene Bleecker has the least integrity I've ever met in my hitting life by by refusing to swing and then not telling me that he's injured, if in fact he was. I seriously doubt the injury, to be honest with you. But when I said I wouldn't come unless he's going to swing, and he knows that, and he doesn't tell me in advance when he's supposedly injured, he's like got zero integrity to me. But on top of that, I brought Kerry up to the stage and had Kerry tell him the difference between what he used to do and what he does now, and how he swings from one leg and he snaps the barrel from one leg and he gets ready at release and blah, 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 everything we talk about. Guess what they did? They listened to him, and then they told him that's not what you do. That you just have a feel that's different than the real. Now, their real, the video I showed you earlier, side by side with their favorite player, okay, they'll let you believe that's real because that's what they teach. But this can't be real. That's just a feel. Even though Kerry stood there and told him that that's exactly what he does, he lifts his leg as early as he possibly can and stays on his back leg and snaps the barrel rearward. He gets ready at pitch release so he can wait for the ball. Even though he stood there right in front of him and told him that's what he does, the arrogance of Eugene Bleecker says, well, you really don't do that. That just happens. Here's what you really do. I mean, it's unbelievable. And they did the same thing. Of course, Aaron wasn't there, but when I showed these videos of Aaron talking, they could hear him talk. They could hear him explain what he does. And then they say, well, that's not really what he does. That's just his feel. What he really does is he puts his foot down and blocks and braces and creates the series of deceleration moves. So at this point, it's obvious it's a shit show. At this point, I probably roll around in the mud with him a little bit. I was pretty cool at the beginning. I didn't interrupt him at all. Him and his posse's interrupted me 5, 6, 7 times. I finally roll around the mud a little bit with him. But I end the presentation because I wanted to make this point clear. I showed Braxton, and I said, this is one of my guys. He does everything I teach, and he scissors. And then I showed, this is Jacob Robson. He's one of my guys. He does everything I teach, and he scissors. This is Jacob again, okay? So I had the opportunity to make the point that the scissoring move, which is what Eugene's entire philosophy is based on, is not the move. Some people scissor, some people don't. My people, everyone that I teach, of everyone I teach, some scissor, some don't. But Eugene teaches the scissor as if the move that causes the scissor is what you should be teaching. The scissor is not a cause, it's a result. It has a lot to do with your weight distribution, how forward you go, how much is your forward move, how do you land? Do you land closed, open, neutral? It has a lot to do with the length of the levers of the hitter and his own personal makeup. Aaron Judge does not scissor. Scott Kingery does not scissor. Jose Vargas does not scissor. Ian Happ does not scissor. Braxton does. Jacob does. They were all taught one thing, and some of them scissor and some of them don't. Eugene teaches the scissor. He teaches the two-legged, compress your torso into your front leg so that you get this push-pull, if you will, feeling between your legs. And most people are going to scissor because of that. So I'll end up with one last thing. After it was over, Kerry wanted to take some swings, so we went to the cage. He hit a few balls off the tee. I flipped him a few balls. This is unbelievable. So one young kid comes up, and I guess he's a college player, or maybe he's a young pro player or a young pro age player. I don't think he was a pro. And he wanted us to move into the next cage where the hit tracks was. And Kerry has, I too, but Kerry has no interest in the hit tracks. Kerry just wanted to get some swings in. He wasn't trying to set a personal record or anything. And so we didn't go to that cage. And the guy said, if you will go over to that cage, I guarantee I'll hit the ball harder than you, Kerry. The arrogance is just off the charts. Kerry was barreling every one of my flips, loud cracks, sudden snaps, beautiful swings. As good as he could do, as good as I could teach. Every one of them were good. Nice ball flight. Backspun balls up the middle, gap to gap. And this punk comes up and wants to go to the other cage to prove that he can hit the ball harder than Kerry. First of all, that's a great sign that they're teaching the wrong thing. They're teaching exit velocity, okay? Second of all, the arrogance of saying that to Kerry is off the charts. Kerry, when we left, by the way, Kerry's a super nice guy. He had a smile on his face the whole time. He didn't mix it up with anybody. He just glad-handed them and, just stayed friendly. When we left, Kerry says, Rich, I turned around 98 mile an hour in the big leagues for homers. And he's laughing when he says this. And that kid says I don't hit the ball hard enough. And we chuckled about that. And then I said, Kerry, that kid is working on his exit velocity. And if he faced that 98 mile an hour pitch, he couldn't even touch it, let alone hit it out of the park, because he's working on the wrong thing. I'm going to turn the camera around. I'm done with the video. Okay? So, all in all, I don't mind debating at all. Why would I mind debating? If there was, I'm guessing there was 50 or 60 people in the room. It could have been more. It was dark. They had lights on the stage, and as I looked out there, I couldn't see anything hardly except the people in the front row. But I'm guessing 50 or 60 people. And if that's true, if there were 60 people there, I guess there might have been 5 or 10 on our side, and the rest of them on the other side. I mean, it was a setup, a situation to embarrass me. Well, you can't embarrass me when the video proves I'm right. I'll stand there and take all your barbs, I'll take all your arrows, and you're going to look like a fool because you can't, number one, you're afraid to swing. You're afraid of the truth. Number two, the truth's right there in front of you. That video of Trout next to Aaron is so obvious that his weight was back, and they have to have weight forward because at that point in the swing, Trout was going to launch, and if his weight isn't forward, that proves that he's not doing what they teach. So anyway, it was quite the event. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind being the Lone Ranger. I've got truth on my side. How can I go wrong? How can I fail? Truth isn't determined by the vote of the audience. Truth is determined by the results, by the video. So as we're standing around the cage, Kerry was done with his swings. A lot of people would come up, some men, some older people, some college-age kids would come up and ask questions. A lot of the questions were good. I stood there and answered them all. And there was 2 or 3 guys that always had their phone here and were filming what was going on, like they were looking for something to use down the road. And I believe those were part of the posse. Okay. One older gentleman, by older gentleman, 40-ish maybe, he videoed one of Carrie's swings in the cage and then called me over, and he showed me the video and said, look, he's not snapping it. Look, he's not on his rear leg. And what can you do when he's clearly snapping it and he's clearly on his rear leg and this guy's sitting here, standing there saying he's not? What do? I ask him to come in the cage so that I can get him into the position Carrie's in and get him to swing a bat from there so he can know where the weight is. Guess what? Just like Eugene and everybody else in the room, he refused. So anyway, Carrie, I think it was Carrie, yeah, it was Carrie, said that he can't believe that I put myself through these things all the time. And I do. And I say, you know what? I will die before what I teach is widely accepted. But my son, daughter, granddaughters, if I ever have a grandson, my grandson will know that I was the one that started this and I was right all along. And that's exactly what will happen. It won't be long. People are coming up from the kids' ages into the high school ages, into the colleges, into the pro ranks now. A lot of people are doing it, and pretty soon everybody's going to be doing it because they have to compete. Okay?